Welcome, everybody, to This Week in Indies. We're coming to you live from Atlanta, Georgia, for the 2024 JordanCon. JordanCon is a science fiction, fantasy, and literary convention founded in honor of Robert Jordan, the author of the Wheel of Time series. For a lot of indies, though, this is the starting point for a busy, non-stop convention season. And I'm here as a guest to talk to you about the sights and sounds of this weekend. You just never know who might be joining us. One guarantee, though, is C.L. Cannon, who has another great indie connection with books you might enjoy if you're a fan of The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by B.E. Schwab. There will be no 10 questions this week, but feel free to ask me anything. In joining us, grab a cup of coffee, a tea, sit back, and let's get to experiencing JordanCon together on This Week in Indies with your host, Joe Compton. Hello, everybody. Welcome to This Week in Indies. I am Joe Compton, and good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Look who, we have no surprises anymore. It's Bob, everybody.
I'm really happy to be here. These after con or like during con lives are like fast becoming one of my favorite con events. So,
tell everybody a little bit about yourself, Bob.
For those who don't know me, you probably haven't watched enough Go Indie Now. That's the problem. But I am primarily an author. I'm also a podcaster and indie game designer. I'm best known for writing a series of books about a redneck wizard with a crippling meth addiction called the Jubal County Saga.
Yeah.
So
nice. And I'm repping that today. Anita's here. Hello, Anita. Nice to see you. I'm seeing that there's some other people in the audience. Say hello, who is ever out there watching for us. We'd love to hear from you. We're here in Atlanta at JordanCon. Both of us first timers.
Yeah. No, I've been hearing for years, like a lot of other people like Bob, you need to go to Jordan. Mm-hmm. Like it's a book lovers convention.
Mm-hmm.
Like you need to be there. And most up to this point, like the schedule hasn't really worked out. And this is the first year that it worked out for me to be able to come. And I'm so glad I did. So.
Me too. I had reservations about it as well. I was I'm not the target audience for what this con usually is representing in terms of like science fiction, fantasy, even authoring wise, Yeah. I've found that it's the complete opposite. I felt totally in place the entire weekend. I felt like this was such a warm and welcoming event and had such great panels. There was so much good discussion going on. There was a lot of interaction amongst the panels, which I really love. I love all that.
Great crowds. Like every so often you have a panel where you're just struggling to get them to engage.
Yeah.
Not a it was more common that we ran out of time for people to handle all their questions, like great crowds, tons of great interaction in that regard. Yeah.
And Bob and I did 2 panels together this week. So that was really cool. You want to tell the story of what happened in our panel the other day? So because I'm sure the people who are watching would love to look up this article.
Okay. Yeah. So kind of bouncing off what Joe said, I had
Hello.
I kind of had a mental image of what this con was going to be like. It's going to be all Wheel of Time all the time. And I'm not a huge Wheel of Time fan. I prefer Robert Jordan's Conan stuff. Ooh, hipster Bob. And so I very much had an expectation there's going to be a ton of like Wheel of Time discussion panels and stuff like that. And I think what I have learned is cons like this that are very seemingly mono-themed. They start that way, but you can't maintain that over decades.
Yeah.
So after a while, you expand.
Yeah.
So there's tons, like Robert Jordan didn't write Wheel of Time's not sci-fi. There's a sci-fi track here.
Mm.
And so I was super excited when I got my panel list and I saw that it was space zombies. And I was like, okay, I'm phobic of zombies. Let's do this. But it was like so many of like my favorites were on there. You know, Sean, you, like it was all right. A lot of fun.
Yeah.
Well,
Bill Bridges.
Bill Bridges. And there was a woman in the crowd, and I ran into her later, and I was like, thank you for engaging. You could tell she was super nervous.
Yeah.
I was like, look, you did fantastic. You don't need to be nervous. She's like, I'm 42. If I haven't beat it by now, I'm just going to be nervous. Okay. I was like, well, that's cool, but I just wanted you to know she asked some great questions.
Yeah.
But then we're talking zombies, and we were talking about how zombies are cyclical in the fandom. And she was like, hey, look, I read an article years ago that explained that depending on which political party is in power, Republican or Democrat, determines there's a correlation to what's popular, vampires or zombies. And not going to get political here, but if you want to, and she's like, but I haven't been able to find that article again. And a guy in the crowd got his Google foo in motion, and he dug it up. He said, if you'll search, search zombie vampire political party in Google, this article will pop up.
Yep.
And it's a fascinating read. So that was, I was like, that's, we're the panelists, and now we're learning, So and that's happened a lot this weekend.
Yeah.
It's like someone engaging in the crowd. There's been a few of the panels that we did. One, you weren't on it, but you were in the crowd for it, where science, the future is funny.
Yes.
Talking about comedic sci-fi.
Yeah.
And after we kind of discussed comedic sci-fi, we're like, hey, so what recommendations do people have?
Mm-hmm.
And just so many people be, oh, what about this? And so many people were making lists and oh, I've got all this media to check out when I leave here,
Yeah.
That was an 8:30 panel.
Yeah.
And it was well attended, and everyone was super invested.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
I mean, we did a panel about gaming as a pro, and that was in a room where I was like, there's no way this is getting filled. And it was filled. It was full.
Yeah. I'm kicking myself for not taking a picture of that crowd. I'm so bad about doing that. I was like, I need content for my social media. This would be a great crowd to take a picture of. Didn't do it.
Yeah, I mean, it's been really awesome seeing old faces and meeting new ones, talking to people. As you do with these cons, it's all about networking and just engaging with folks. And there was a lot of great engagement this weekend. I really felt like we had some really incredible conversations. And I mean, and I'm talking professional conversations, right? I'm not just talking about conversations about, this person's a dick, or, we're fucked as a country,
right.
Things that happen when you get drunker in the evening.
Those conversations definitely happen. But the cool thing about this is it's a lot of the people that me and you see at a lot of the conventions we do. It's very much there's somewhat of a con circuit, and I'm not gonna say it's a clique, but it's these are the people that they commonly do the same conventions together. And it's cool because maybe at Con Carolinas, I might not get to actually hang out with Patrick Duggan. Or might get to talk to him for a minute, but then, I got to talk to him a pretty decent chunk this weekend. Sarah and Tim Madsen, got to hang out with them a ton because they were set up next to Ben. And I paneled with Sarah 2 or 3 times, 2 times. And then I attended once she was on. And it was cool. Okay, I don't always get to hang out with y'all. So this is the con I'm going to hang out with y'all. And, really, it kind of fleshes out those connections. It's we already knew that we liked hanging out with each other, but now we know it more. And they're like, oh, okay, this guy's not as weird as we thought. He's still a weird little shit, but he's not as bad as we thought. So
Mr. Mangle says that he does the same thing that we do at MegaCon for networking aspect and content creation for his channels. Thank you for the compliment on my haircut. It's funny, Andy, you'll laugh at this. Like Bob was saying, we run in the same circles, and oftentimes with these things and these events are with the same folks, right? And so every person that I ran into that knows me was surprised to see me. because I didn't have my hat on, and that was the comment that I got every single time. Oh, I didn't recognize you. You don't have your hat.
What event was it? It was JordanCon, I think. The first day of JordanCon, I had forgotten my vest in my truck, and Ben had kept cutting me funny looks, and then he like wandered over, like, "You don't have your vest on." It's like, "You look weird." It's been bothering me. I wasn't sure what it was. Like, you don't look like you. I don't have it on right now because we're in the room. But yeah, if I'm at a con, if I'm out where people can see me, I wear the vest. You know, and it helps people because a 6'1" super red bearded guy in a possum shirt is not memorable enough. So we throw on the vest.
Was the charity RPG probably your favorite highlight of the weekend?
I think it was. But that's not fair.
Right.
No, but because I was actually talking with Tim about it. He was like, what was he asked me what my favorite panel I'd ever been on.
Yeah.
Or what panel I had the most fun on. And those who watched the Con Carolinas recap will remember that I was on a panel with Jim Nettles there. And I just had so much fun. That was such a good panel. But the charity RPG live play that we did, I don't like that is definitely a panel, but it's a different sort of beast because it's a live play. You're not asking questions, you're performing essentially. And so, oh my God.
So set the stage for everybody, what it was about, who was involved.
So the panel, so John Hartness writes the Bubba the Monster Hunter series. It's a popular urban fantasy series about a redneck going around hunting monsters. And he has partnered with Judy Black, who is a 5e, primarily 5e D&D designer. Mm-hmm. And she is converting the Bubba series into RPG content. And they released a module. I don't know the name of I'm sure I heard the name of the module, but
I didn't hear it, and I was in the room for a little bit.
So, but anyway, there's only one module. If you go look Bubba the Monster Hunter D&D module, you'll find it.
And if you buy the book, you'll get it for free.
Yeah. So that's what we were going to run. So she wrote it. She was the DM. John Hartness, as the author, was on there. Mark Poole, who is the artist guest of honor. He's a very well-known Magic the Gathering. He's most known for doing card art for Magic the Gathering, like some really iconic cards with iconic art. And then me. But I know why I was on there. John was like, "Oh, we're doing a redneck RPG. You got it. Let's throw Bob on there." And so I've read this. Like, I know I haven't seen the module. I bought it, but I haven't played it. But I know how the story goes. Right? It's the very first Bubba story, as I know how it goes. Spoiler: it did not go that way.
Not in the slightest.
No. The kind of instigating how Judy decided to herd this group of cats was she was going to have a possum familiar show up and like get us started on the path. And we were all drunk in character. This was too early in the day for us to be drunk in person, but our characters were all drunk. We just left a dingy strip club and we're in this graveyard. We heard that there's weird goings on in the cemetery. We got to go check it out. And she has this possum appear and is about to start talking to us. And we decide, oh, what the hell, kill it. So we killed it. And so she had another one just pop up because she's like, no, this is how this needs to go. And we killed the next one. And then we killed the next one because they all had like one hit point. And this was a charity RPG. So you could buy tokens. And with these tokens, you could do things. You could give us advantage, give us disadvantage. For $25, you could make Judy had to do the possum familiar with a Valley Girl voice, and that was the first thing that sold. So she's doing this possum familiar with a Valley Girl voice, And someone was like, "Oh, there's a bunch of dead possums around. This module is zombie based," and they're like, "Oh, I'm going to turn in some tokens to create zombies on the fly." So they became zombie possums, and it leads to like we.
It leads to John and Bob running at each other in like real time.
Yeah,
Like
in real time.
They were in like live action.
We're both covered. We're covered in possums. We got so many possums. We need a way to quickly kill all these possums. Like I've got 10 clinging onto me. He's got like 8 on him. And we run towards each other. And John stands up, goes around like, "Oh, I see where this is going." So I stand up and we slow motion run towards each other and just launch into a hug. And as we acted out, squishing all these zombie possums. And it was, we all just kept making so many puns all throughout. Like the one I was most proud of was Mark was playing a monk. He's like, I'm gonna spend a key point on this to hit this possum. I was like, "Do you mean a point?" I thought John was gonna walk out of the room. He's like, "Magoo." So it was so good. We had such a good time. And so that was we are
this one especially.
But no, so that was really cool. That was and it felt good, like because it was for charity. And what charity? I don't know. They told it like 87 times, and I have now forgotten. But they raised a good chunk of money for charity.
Yeah.
And then whoever raised the most, they got a signed copy of the first Bubba Omnibus signed by all of us. And then I threw in a copy of my book one, signed it, and it was.
It was a lot of fun.
It was so stupid.
It was. I came in at the tail end of it, and it was pretty. It was. I got to see the hug and everything, and that was really. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. That was really interesting.
Yeah. So that was the wildest. I think of the panels I did, because I did a game jam, like a design a game on the fly, which we did at Multiverse.
Yep.
And we did it. We basically recreated that panel. It was like all the same people.
Yep.
Pretty much that were at Multiverse for this one. So we recreated that panel almost exactly and designed another game on the fly based on crowd suggestions. That was a lot of fun. And then I did the space zombies.
Yep.
I did design a game like a pro.
Yep.
And then I did the funny fantasy, and I think I enjoyed the design a game like a pro one the most.
I learned the most in that panel for sure. I mean, so I did Sea Creatures, Zombie.
Oh, that Sea Creatures one was so good.
And I did the design a game like a pro, and I did those all back. Yesterday was my only day for paneling, and I did them back to back to back, which was kind of funny. But I really felt like there was really good information being shared. I thought Ryan, right? Yeah. He was very good moderating it. I was mentioning on our drive home from dinner last night how I felt like I learned a little bit of a new technique in moderating from him, in that he asked a question that nobody answered. We did not answer a single. Well, maybe we answered the first question, and then it was just whatever we wanted to talk about after that, kind of where. But to his credit, he pivoted and went off, and then he would interject a little something that would kind of get us going on another topic.
You will be hard pressed to find someone who knows more about games than Ryan.
Yeah,
he's a track director for the he knows so much and a lot about really esoteric game design theory and stuff like that. But he made it clear that that's not what this panel is about. Right. This panel was about it was more about the business of you have this idea, cool. You've worked out, you got an idea ready. What do you do with it?
Yeah. And Bob and I were on the tail end of it. We were the indie connection, I guess you could say, kind of ironically.
And because there were 3 hyper qualified. I mean, Judy Black does so much content. Sarah Masnin writes for Wizards of the Coast, and Kobold Press, and so many others.
And Bill Bridges.
Bill Bridges,
who was part of White Wolf, right?
Yeah. He wrote for White Wolf, does Fated Suns now. I mean, the guy's a legend. And then you had me.
And me.
But, like Joe was on there for more like the marketing side of things. And, but me, I really enjoyed panels like that where I joked that I was on the tail end. So I was like, from here that way where all they are, that's the how to design like a pro. From this side of the line, it's how to design a game like an amateur. And so, but I keep finding myself in positions where I've been doing a lot of like writing workshops that are really geared towards traditional publishing.
Yeah.
And I like being the voice of, yes, you can go trad.
Yeah.
And they have great advice for doing that, but it's not the only way.
Yeah.
You can go the way I go. And so they were offering really great advice on like, look, this is what you need to look at for contracts.
Yeah.
If you're licensing, things like that. And I was over here like, look, the spaces I operate, it's super indie. It's kind of underground. People are really just doing it because it's a passion project. Fundamentally, we don't worry about that kind of stuff. Like we have in the really indie game design, there's a concept of hacking. Like it is incredibly common for someone to take a game.
Yeah.
And like, I really like this game. I have some ideas on how to improve it. I'm going to do a hack of it. So like, oh, here's, there was the white hack, and then there was the black hack, which is, and then there's the black sword hack. And so like, there's all these hacks. And so,
yeah, for those who play games, Morg Borg is probably the biggest example of that.
I would say so.
Yeah.
It's just really, it has resonated in a way unlike any I have seen. There's some others that are really popular, like Troika.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some others, but Morg Borg right now is just, it's created, it hasn't created a culture. It has participated in a culture and really embraced that aesthetic and in just really cool ways. And so, I was like, hey, there is a way that you can do this.
Yeah.
That's not as, if you just want to get a game out there, there are ways to do that. Yeah, obviously you want to make the best thing you can.
Yeah.
But it does not have to be, super serious involving lawyers, and there's my way is not better than their way.
Yeah.
It's all about what
you want to do.
How are you defining success for yourself?
Yeah.
For me, success in the RPG space is I want people to hack my games.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh, I've noticed this game. I like it. I want to take it and do stuff with it. So that's success for me. Other people like, I would like to do this for a living. You ain't going to make a living doing it my way.
Yeah. I was really proud of myself after that panel because I really felt like I was a fish out of water. And for the most part in that panel, and I kind of undersold myself in that respect. And then at the end of the panel, I was the guy that people came up. I had two people come up to me at the end of that panel and talk to me about it, and it was like, I was like, wow, here's Bill Bridges sitting next to me. Guy's been doing it for 45 fucking years,
Yeah.
And it's like,
and it's just the nicest guy too, super approachable, would happily talk to anyone.
And I'm sure they got talked to at the end and pulled aside. But I mean, and Sarah, I sat next to Sarah for a good portion of a lot of things, and everybody kept talking to her, and rightfully so.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just it was a great Joe moment for me, and I was really happy about that.
When I grow up, I want to be Sarah. So. But yeah, no, that was the thing is like if you looked at that panel, and I had kind of a similar experience. But like seriously, like it was a room full of people.
Yeah. It was packed.
I've recently published a zine, and when they sent me my copies, some of them were miscut, and so I've been giving them away. If I'm on a game panel, I give a few away. So I was like, hey, if y'all want to come up after, I've got 5 copies of the zine, first come, first serve, and a bunch of folks like ran up to grab it, and then they didn't want to talk to me at all. They were like, all right, cool. To hell with you, weird guy.
Yeah, thanks for the free shit.
Yeah, thanks for the free stuff. But they came up and were like, they were talking.
Yeah.
They were talking to Joe. And like back at DragonCon, I had kind of a similar thing. I was wedged on a panel between Sherilyn Kenyon and John Hartness. And when the panel was over, folks came to talk to me. You know, I was like, Sherilyn Kenyon's right there. Like, let's be real. People did walk up to talk to her, but like I had like a line of people that wanted to talk to me. It's like, did y'all misidentify me? I'm not Sherilyn. Like, I'm Bob. But that's the thing is like, and I do this all the time.
Yeah.
I will talk myself out of applying to be on a panel.
Yeah.
Like, you know, there's got to be someone here that's better.
Right.
And then I always end up going to those panels and being like, you know what? I'm hearing these questions and I know what I would say here.
Yeah.
And like, I could have been on this. And I think, and even when you get on there, like I'm on a panel with Bill Bridges, Sarah Masden, and Judy Black, like, and Joe, but Joe's not a game designer.
Yeah. Those are.
I'm on there with like real deal game designers.
Yeah.
And
people do it for a living.
Yeah. And I was like, I felt, you know, like, do I need to be on this? But, you know, as we got into it, it's like, well, yes, I do need to be on this.
Yeah.
I'm providing a different perspective.
Yeah.
So, and, you know.
Yeah, I think, and my experience with film benefited that panel too, because we were talking about contracts and looking at
licensing,
NDAs and things of that nature. So I've been through all that, so I know a little bit about that, and so I was able to add that expertise in there as well. Which, you know, again, I'm gonna stop tooting my own horn here, but it's just
shoot away, Joe. Shoot away.
It's just that I was really nervous about this weekend in the aspect of what I was assigned to, and now I'm very grateful and thankful that I got assigned those things, because I really feel like I expanded myself this weekend with that, and so I think the lesson here for anybody watching this and trying to glean something from it is take the challenges on, take the risks on, go do as many panels as you're allowed to do and given, and don't worry about what it's about. Look at it. You'll get comfortable in there, and you'll find the angle that works for you. And when you do that, I think it resonates with people. Yeah.
And also think about it as like I did not request any of the panels I was on.
Yeah. Nor did I.
I'm not a guest here. Sean from Going Now, you know, a lot of great programs on here. He was like, hey, I'll get you added to the people who are attending that would be, you know, possible panelists. And so I was just on a list somewhere that people could go through and like, oh, I'm doing this panel. I think Bob would be good for this. So these were people that, like, without talking to me, they're like, I think he would be good on this. And so just take that compliment. You know, if they're adding you to a panel, they think you bring something needed to that panel. And don't do like what I do and like, funny sci-fi? Do I even really engage with that much sci-fi? I'm really more of a fantasy guy. And then like we get going, we're like, oh yeah, no.
We forgot stuff even.
Oh my God, yeah.
We were talking about it after when we were hanging out.
Yeah, we were like, okay, panel's over, clap, 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 clap. And then it was like, oh, we didn't talk about Ready Player One. Yeah. And then someone like, oh, well, we didn't talk about this. And like we were still going on with it. But it was one of those like going into it, I was like, oh man, I don't even remember, like, I don't have any good, but the more we talk, it's like, oh no, yeah, I actually have engaged with a ton of comedic sci-fi and have lots to say on it. You know? It was fun. Yeah, it was great. I want to talk to Bob a little bit about what's next and what's going on, and we'll do that. But first we'll do the Indie Connection, and so we'll have the Indie Connection here, and then Bob and I will be back to wrap it up and talk a little bit about what's next and what this means, what JordanCon leads to for, and what we have to look forward to. All right. So we'll be right back, everybody.
Hey guys, C.O. Kinnan here from Fiction Atlas Press, bringing you another Indie Connection. Today I'd like to tell you about some indie books that you might enjoy if you're a fan of The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. This is one of my favorite books. I love V.E. Schwab, and I know that you're going to love these indie picks that we have for you. The first book I have for you is called Peaches and Honey by R. Rieta. A shape-shifting god, an immortality-granting peach, and a woman gifted with forever. England, 1184. Anna is used to hunger and hardship. Ever since she was 17, when the pale shadows of her vitiligo were spotted, she has spent more than a decade struggling to survive alone and in exile. Then a single act of kindness towards a beautiful stranger and the taste of a divine peach changes Anna's life forever. Suddenly her body is as untouched by time as it is by harm. As she watches the world change around her, knowing every human connection is only temporary, there is only one person she trusts to always return, no matter the years or distance: the shape-shifting God who gifted her with immortality. The second book I have for you is called Blood of My Heart by K.P. Birchfield. She's done with death, but death is not done with her. With a dark prophecy looming over her head, Mora, a skilled thief, would do anything to break free from her fate. Anything, that is, except kill again, or love again. But when tragedy strikes and truths are revealed, Mora is dragged into a truce with Vale's most dangerous enemies, a notorious assassin and his mysterious companions. To make matters worse, Callan, a gilded guard, as aggravating as he is handsome, refuses to leave her side every step of the way, and growing connections risk not only their lives, but their hearts too. Together, the unlikely companions must survive a vital quest to find a relic that could alter the course of history, all while Mora does everything in her power to outrun the evil that lives inside her. With more than just her soul on the line, Mora must decide: will she overcome her fate and become the light her grim world is praying for, or is she doomed to be the darkest monster of them all? The third book I have for you is called A Secret Shared with Death by Ariella Isabella. Sometimes it's the people who hurt us the most that turn out to be our greatest love. After watching my village be burned to the ground by elves, I feel the darkness stir below my skin and bones. This deep itch and voiceless whisper tells me that there's a way to get my revenge, if I only take the hand that's offered to me. What I didn't expect was for that hand to be attached to the Lord of Death, and come at the expense of my sanity and heart. Accepting help from Death was only the first plunge into the magical world of the Oblivion, and following him to the Fey Kingdom of Nadine certainly won't be the last. King Caspian rules over the Glass Court, a gilded cage where I am trapped with beasts whose eyes roam over me with disdain. When the king takes an interest in me beyond my strange powers, the target on my back grows. My abilities have drawn the attention of King Silas, the elf responsible for the inferno that engulfed my home. He'll stop at nothing to capture me, and use my powers for his crusade across the continent. Strange dreams haunt me, and I can't help the confusion that plagues me when I think of the two males who would burn the world for me. The dark power inside me is alluring, and it promises to satiate my lust for retribution. But at what cost? How long can I conceal my magic? A secret I've only ever shared with Death. And the last book I have for you is called Keeper of Shadows by Scarlett Cole. When you find something worth fighting for, giving it up is not an option. Kellen Casey gave his heart to a girl, but instead she took his soul and traded it to a shadow keeper for her own survival. Now Kellen has everyone fooled, hiding his curse behind a bad boy reputation as he slowly transforms into a dimension-hopping, wraith-like soul collector. But when his neighbor, popular girl Abby Marino, accidentally uncovers his secret torment, she insists on helping him, even if he doesn't want her to, descending them both deep into the Shadowkeeper's dark and twisted world. As the fatal end of the curse looms closer, any hope of finding a way out will mean working together. Except if they fail, Kellen won't just lose his life. He might lose the one girl he's willing to die for. Okay, that's all for me this week. I'll see you next week on Indie Connection. Bye!
Another great indie connection from CL Cannon. We thank you very much. Everybody go and check those books out. The links are there. And it's, each and every week. I mean, she just comes up with amazing stuff. So
we were literally talking over the break about I routinely buy her email list builders and how they work. And I was like, this is not just go indie now. People I see people out in the wild are constantly recommending her email list builders. And every time I do them, they work. So, real deal. If you need to build your email list, she is one of the best in the business.
And they're affordable and accessible.
That's the main thing is are there other people comparable to what she's doing? Of course. And they charge a lot more.
Yeah.
That's the thing. She
and I don't think they give half the results she gives.
No,
She's very good at targeting.
Yeah. the other builders I've done, you get a lot of unsubscribes. After the prize is given out, you send that first newsletter, and you get a lot of bounces, a lot of unsubscribes. But that is not the case with hers.
So, I contend that for a lot of the folks that we know in our circles, and yourself included in that, that JordanCon is really where it kicks off, and it just goes nonstop from here for a while. Is that how you're looking at it? What events do you have lined up? How many do you have lined up from now till Multiverse, essentially?
I'll say there's a significant portion of people here that JordanCon is kind of the kickoff.
Yeah.
I'll just say in a general sense, we're in April, right?
Yeah.
It's been a month, y'all. April is really the kickoff month.
Yeah.
I mean, I did JordanCon in January, but that's kind of a fluke. There's not a lot of events in January.
Yeah.
February, there's some, but there aren't really any fan cons. This is the first like big fan con of the year that I'm aware of. Because like this is my, like, I'm not vending or anything, but I'm counting it as an event I'm doing because I'm paneling and quasi guesting, and it's this will be my 4th event of the year, but 2 other ones were one was a vendor con, one was JordanCon, which is just a very small con, and then one was writing workshops that I was mentoring and presenting at. So yeah, this is the first big fan con to kind of really kick, especially like in the Atlanta area, which is where I do most of my stuff. The first fan con of note of the year, at least that I'm aware of. If y'all know one, Bob just told me to do this one, let me know. But yeah, so it is really, April is when things are really popping off for me. Last weekend I did Huntsville Comic Con, but that's just a big vendor con. It was a good show, but it's vendor cons are good for selling. But I like paneling. I like paneling. I like the community.
Yeah.
And vendor cons, you see some great cosplays. You get to talk to a lot of folks, but people who go to those tend to be kind of more casual con goers. You know, you get a lot of people, this is our first con we've ever done. And I tell them, okay, these are great. These are a lot of fun. If you're really nerdy, you need to do some fan cons. And like, what are you into? And I'll make some recommendations. Like if I see they have kids, I recommend Conjuration. If they're if they tell me they're an aspiring writer, I always recommend Multiverse. Things like that.
Do your research, basically.
Oh yeah. But I'm always happy to give some recommendations. Conjuration needs to send me a check for as many people as I've recommended them to this year.
Or at least comp you.
Yeah, right. No, I love they're great to work with. The Seckingers are just so good. But yeah, so this is where things really start to kick off for me for the year. And it's just going to be off to the races now.
And it's kind of like you're doing a vending con, and then a fan con, vending con.
Yeah. So my next event is the Atlanta Self Publishing Conference. I'll be
so that's a teaching con.
I'll be presenting there, but they do you get to do sales. You can set up a table as a presenter. And I really love doing those.
And that goes hand in hand with anything you're doing, right? I mean, people are going to come up to you if they like you on a panel and ask you to buy something sometimes.
Oh yeah.
So.
People follow you home.
Yeah.
Is what we say. Is you're on a panel that a lot of times you'll see they will come find where your booth is and buy books. I just don't have a booth this year. I will next year, I think. I was kind of testing the waters, seeing where we're at.
I think the way that they set up the author's alley here is very, very prominent and very cool. Yeah. I liked the setup. It's very spacious, and yet you have on both sides opportunities to go and talk to people.
Yeah.
And so I have a feeling that John had a lot to do with that, because John is the sponsor. Falstaff is the sponsor of the author's alley here.
A lot of conventions, the author's alley can feel like an afterthought.
Right.
It is literally the first thing. Like, you go through registration, you're in author's alley.
Yep.
And it's very prominent. Gets the most foot traffic of because
Yeah.
all and it's right all the main programming. It's
Yeah,
like
I was just gonna say the main hall where the opening and closing ceremonies, where the costume party is, where all the
the dance party,
the orchestras, all the things that
the
they
charity
bring
RPG,
in. They're all right there,
yeah.
right next to the author's
and
alley.
then to get to the vendor hall, you have to walk through author's alley.
Yeah.
So it's really this is a book centric con. I mean, it's Wheel of Time is a book series, and now a TV series.
Right.
But I mean, it started as it's a book lovers convention,
right?
So they show the author some love. So,
and one of the actors, a guy, do you know his last name?
Oh God, no!
I can't think of his last name either right now. It's
if you can't remember,
he walked through and bought everybody's first edition. So shout out to him. That was pretty amazing. So. It's really cool, and it's I think it's really well set up here in that respect. I forget what I was going to ask you about, but
like what's next, or
you can say what's next. But
like I said, the Atlanta Self-Publishing Con is next, but the next convention, I'm doing a romance convention next.
Shut up!
Yeah, no, I'm dead serious. I'm doing the Capital City Author event. For those who don't know, romance is the most popular genre. It sells the best. And I have learned that they have these romance book festivals, basically. And they have one in Montgomery. I went to it last year.
You might run into Deborah Parmalee there. She usually sells at those things.
So I probably will. But people flew from Germany to go to this thing. People bring carts. Like those who know Dino, it's like a room full of Dinos. It is insane. And so I don't write romance, but I know the people who run it. They're letting me in.
It's good to know people sometimes.
Yeah, so we will see how it goes. But this is like a general tip.
Have you honed your pitch to kind of pitch it to romance a little bit?
Well, so Southern Saudade, I think I can. But here's the thing: romance readers like happy endings, and Southern Saudade, there's not a happy ending to be found in that collection.
No, definitely not.
So, but I call it my breakup playlist in book form. So I'm hoping that catches some people. So I'm hoping that book moves. But for the most part, I find that there frequently is value in being the odd man out.
Yeah, sure.
And so I think I will stand out at this event, and I'm not going to sell as well as most of these romance authors, but I'm gambling that I will do pretty well.
Yeah.
I
think everything we've been talking about how I felt like a fish out of water that's the proof of that. You know,
I am flopping on the shore on this one. So, but it's going to be fun. Like I know, like I said, I know the people who run it. And I know a couple of.
Are they doing panels for this one too? No, just a VendorCon.
No, this is they do like the night before. Like for VIPs, they do a meet and greet kind of deal. So, I'll be standing in the corner because no one's going to care about having met me. The people ain't flying from Germany to meet me. But it'll be fun. I'll tell you a funny story. We went last year. And I did not know. All I knew was this was a Capital City Author event, and I had not heard about it. It slipped totally under my radar. And like I like to think I'm pretty plugged into the literary scene of Montgomery because there ain't none. It's very small. And so I found out about like last minute. Asked like, hey, there's a huge wait list. I'm like, all right, cool. So, but I'm going to go support. And so take the wife and kiddo, and the kiddo. This is a romance con, and at these romance cons, they frequently bring the cover models, like the cover models of these books.
Oh, yeah.
You can get a picture with like rippling, muscled, shirtless dude, but they do. It's a lot of romance, and a lot of it's erotica, erotica adjacent. And so you would see, like, we'd be walking down the line, and you would see people like kind of. Someone made 3D printed paddles of an adult nature, and we're walking down and we see they're like sliding those behind a book. But there was to show how much money these people make. They were literally, there was one booth that was giving away Jello shots, like alcoholic Jello shots. Like, I don't sell books enough to just give away liquor at mine, although it might help. But this one person wrote vampire, like paranormal romance, and they were giving away blood bags filled with like some sort of alcoholic punch. Okay. And the kiddo thought the bags were so cool. And so this person very kindly gave her an empty bag. So we're walking around and everyone is glaring at us because they think that we let our kiddo drink a bag of this alcoholic punch. So, but it was fun. It was great. I had a lot of fun. So like I said, I know the people and I talked to them. I was like, they write paranormal romance. I was like, hey, look, what do you think? They're like, oh yeah, come on, we'll have a good time. So,
yeah, nice. Yeah. I wanted to mention too, for everybody out there who is interested, I toured the new facility at Multiverse the day before I got here, the day I got here, and the day before this con started. I got to see the space in its entirety and where everybody will be at when they come to Multiverse, and it's fabulous. It's really exciting. There's a lot of great things that are going to happen with this. There's some really interesting and intricate things that you'll hear me talk about more on Spotlight of Multiverse when I start spotlighting the Multiverse convention and the people who are going to be there. But yeah, it was really, really great experience, and I'm really I'm really excited I can't wait for October to get here. So.
Yeah, and I got to talk with I think Allison was just she was gone as quick as I saw her, but I got to talk to Jesse a good bit about it, and Mason, the art track director there, and Mason, like, especially, was gushing. He's so excited because like the one fly in the ointment at Multiverse is the art track room was in the restaurant. Like you had to walk through the restaurant to get to it.
Yeah, right behind the bar, basically.
Yeah, and so a lot of people didn't know that. So I did a couple panels in there, and they were never great attendance because people didn't know how to get to it. And so he's so excited to, like, yes, we've got a much better space. It's going to be super easy to find. Because like, I would say that probably last year, the two most interesting panels I did were in the art track.
Nice.
I did ethics of AI and social activism through art.
Nice.
So a bunch of us who run like nonprofits and things like that were in there, and those were such good panels. Like, you know, it's like we did it to like 5 or 6 people just because no one knew where the room was. Right. You know, and so because they do such interesting panels there. Yeah, I'm excited that they're getting a better spot. You could see Mason was just over the moon with it.
Not only that, but the art show usually was swallowed by the vendor hall because they were in the middle of the vendor hall and everything had to be around them. And so this year it's separated so that the art show is its own thing and then the vendor hall is its own thing. And I think that's going to really help people. And there's going to be Jesse showed me how they're setting up the art with the racks that they have, and it's going to be so much more availability for artists. So they're going to be able to expand that as well and put more artists out there and give more artists a chance to be seen, which I think is valuable and awesome.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, it's really impressive, everybody. There's some really great things. So if you've been thinking about it, especially if you're in this area, if you're in the Southeast, you should really, really consider it, because I think it's one of those conventions that is just so uniquely suited toward human interaction, inclusion, and it's diversity. There's so much good stuff that goes on.
Yeah, I recommend it to new authors and new creatives. I tell them it is the best networking con you can go to.
Yeah.
Half the attendees are in the business in some way.
Yeah.
They're podcasters, they're artists, they're authors.
Yeah.
And a lot of us, you know, like if I was in or not, I'm a guest, but in or not, I'm going to be there because all my con friends are going to be there, and we're going to hang out and we're going to network. You know, my book deal with Falstaff came out of Multiverse. You know, it is the best networking convention if you are looking to get into the biz.
Yeah. And so wrapping up this aspect, I'm gonna say if you were like me, you were thinking I don't. This is not really a con that I would be centered about. I can say with full confidence and without a doubt, not only should you try to come to JordanCon because I think it's a big enough. It's a smaller con, right? First off, so it's very intimate in that respect. It's a little bit bigger than Multiverse, so it has just a little bit more there, but it is also vastly different from Multiverse in a lot of respects as well. But if you were thinking about, what significance JordanCon has based on, who you are and what you do, don't worry about it. There's so much different things that are going on here, and like I said, it's a great way to challenge yourself, and I think it's a great con to do that with because it's not Dragon Con where you would get lost in the shuffle. No. It's not a vending con where you would have to sell to feel like you did anything here. Yeah. This has a very good mixture of all of the things that the social interaction, the opportunity to sell, the opportunity to sell yourself, the opportunity to be on some interesting panels, talk some interesting topics. And so JordanCon really did very well, and I'm very impressed by it. And
it's similar to Multiverse in a lot of ways. Mm-hmm. It just has a different focus.
Yeah.
Like there are tracks that Multiverse has that JordanCon does not have. JordanCon does not have a horror track, know. There's stuff like they don't have an art track.
Yeah.
So they do kind of cover, and they have different focuses. Multiverse focuses a little bit more on inclusivity.
Yeah.
Not that JordanCon is,
Yeah.
But they just have different focuses, but it is a lot of the same people. It's got a similar kind of welcoming vibe to it. So if you wanted like bookend your year, like start with JordanCon, end with Multiverse, I'd call that a good year.
I would too. Absolutely. 100%. And also they have a lot more here because of the opportunity that they're a little bit bigger. They do author workshops like all weekend long here.
Yeah.
And that's really, if you're starting out, if you're somebody who needs some help with something, this is a place to come and get that help. Because the people I know who are on that, who are giving the valuable advice, are giving valuable advice.
Oh yeah, there's some killer folks in there in the writing workshops.
Yeah. All right, Bob, tell everybody where they can find you so they can go get you this wonderful stories of yours.
So the easiest way, talesbybob.com. Tales, like book tales. You can also find me like at Tales by Bob on whatever social media platform I'm on. I'm not on all of them. I'm on the ones I like. If you're on, I really like this one, you searched me, I'm not on there, it's because I don't like it.
You want to talk about your podcast a little bit?
Oh, sure. Yeah. So I have been off and on doing a podcast called Books, Beards, Booze for better part of 5 years now, I guess. And we just started back recording season 6. Episode 1 just dropped last week. It's me and our longtime co-host Derek. But this season, excitingly, the two big changes are we added Ben Meeks. He's now our third co-host. So three bearded guys talking books and beards and booze. And the other exciting thing is we've added a video component.
Yeah,
we're recording it on video as well, so you can watch it on YouTube. My channel on here is Tales by Bob. It's just been a lot of fun. We don't do it because people listen. We do it because we just have a blast doing it. So hope be a listener.
Yeah, go check it out.
Be one of an elite crew of tens of people.
And do what you do here, which is like, subscribe, and comment, and do all the things that you do for us. We really appreciate it. Help with getting us seen and help with getting us out there. And I hope you guys enjoyed this little taste of Atlanta and JordanCon. And remember that it's always time to go with you now. And we'll see you next week. Bye, everybody.